Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. And I wanted to go live tonight talking about this whole issue with this whites only community that allegedly has started in northern Arkansas and now is trying to make its way to Springfield, Missouri. And I wanted to get folks' opinion on what they think this is really all about. We have reached a precipice in America where the racial tone and dynamic has reached a heightened pace, especially under this President Donald Trump's administration. We have this immigration issue that is tempering many people's feelings about racial dynamics. You have the mega folks, the Republican base that loves Donald Trump, and then the others, the Democratic base, and many people of color that feels like that President Trump is race baiting. I'm not so sure about that, in the sense that many of the governmental agencies that he's gone after so far, U.S. aid, people at the Veterans Administration, where they have to write an essay or a paragraph about their employment and what they're doing on their job. There's always been a history of governmental waste, and in the last 50 or 60 years, he's the first president that is trying to kind of do an audit of many of these alphabet governmental agencies. Is there race play in that? I don't think so. There are many white Americans that work for the Veterans Administration, USAID, this issue with Medicaid cuts. There are more white individuals that are on Medicaid than black. The black populace in the United States is only about 13.5 to 14%. So it makes you wonder. Many people think that Trump is heightened this race play. Does that give credence to this organization called RTTF, Return to the Land? If you listen to some of these titles, let's take America back, mega. You have people of color that are worried that this kind of a racial segregationist titles and mantra behind it. However, black folks have to realize that when you have titles like Black Lives Matter, Black Power, that can reverberate back to a certain segregationist and racist epitome in and of itself. So there's a duality there. And black folks, we can't have it both ways. All lives matter in my position, and I think it can be an affront to white America or Mexican American or Italian American, where we are shoving this whole Black Lives Matter thing down folks' throat. Statistically, there are more black people killing black people, especially between the ages of 15 to 30, than any other race destroying young black lives. And you don't see Black Lives Matter protesting any of those homicides, which are taking place each and every day. So there should be a level playing field with Black Lives Matter, in the sense that all black lives should matter, no matter who the perpetrator is. And I'm saying that to say because for a white organization such as RTTL, Return to the Land, if they want to have a certain European segregationist city, I don't have a problem with it. If that's what they want, if we're gonna have race play or identity politics for black folks, then it definitely has to be allowable for white America also. And now I don't have a problem with this so-called return to the land. That's evidently it is like 160 acres of land in northern Arkansas. If that's what they want to have done, I'd rather know that a person is racist and wants to be separated from other races than not to know. I'd rather somebody carry their emotions on their shoulder rather than hide them in their back. And I know that that's not somebody I need to deal with. We have to stop living our lives in darkness and start living our lives a little bit in the light. And I think that's one thing that President Trump has done. I think he's the first white president that sits in the secret boardrooms and then he comes out of them and he talks about the hypocrisy and the lies that are taking place in these boardrooms that are making decisions on our lives. And I think that many black people and black males can appreciate that. I think that many black males associated with Trump for being charged with maybe some people would say necessary or unnecessary crimes. Many black people have felt, and black males over the years have felt that there have been an overexuberance of charges or unnecessary charges. There are definitely many people of color that have spent 20 and 30 years in prison who didn't deserve it. I think Trump's outspokenness I'm trying to read what some of these folks are saying. I think Trump's outspokenness kind of appeals to a minority segment in society. And I'm saying that all as a reference because you're going to find many people that are going to associate this whites only community that's being heightened by Trump's rhetoric. And I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think that there is a scenario where white males in this white male patriarchal society are worried about their kids race mixing. There are a ton of interracial relationships now as a result of rap music. Very less people are wanting to go the intellectual college route and get an education and a traditional job. The cost of college has gotten out of control. The middle class is suffering each and every day. There's a heavy burden. The American dream has started to become an American nightmare. Cleveland. So, but this scenario with this whites only community is a very interesting dynamic. And they're talking about trying to move this across 50 states. And one thing that many people don't do is read the legislations of their state government. We're always worried about who's going to be the president and the vice president. And many people don't know how the governmental makeup is of their individual state. Who are some of their state senators? Who is the lieutenant governor? Many people can tell you who their city mayor and their state governor is, but they don't know who's on their state Supreme Court for these laws to be legislated. Now, I would also tell you that from a legal standpoint, it's going to be hard for this to be mandated with this whites only community because it has a restrictive covenant, which is unconstitutional and a violation of our civil rights and the Civil Rights Act. But you got to remember this group and the gentleman that is one of the representatives for it, his name is Eric Orwell, who I saw do a interview talking about this particular community. And he said stuff like he wanted to ensure that white Americans who value their ancestry will be able to have the ability to live among like-minded people in the future if they choose to do so. Um, well, I mean, that's true. I mean, there's always been redlining in real estate. Um, Segregation is redlining. We do know that. But do I care whether they have this isolated all-white city? Not me personally. However, I don't think it should be something that should be mandated and should start coexisting. There were back in the old days, you had cities where you had to get out of there before dawn if you were a person of color. And that could reignite some of those kinds of issues. If you have this all-white community and say you're a person of color and you drive into this community or you drive to Arkansas and you don't realize where you are, is there going to be an issue with the police? Is there going to be an issue about be getting in trouble for driving while black? So it will reverberate some of the old white racism that we have been trying to diminish and to destroy over the years. But this reignition of white, I don't want to say white power because that sounds racist, even though we use the term black power all the time. Did you ever read chat? I'm trying to follow some of the things that people are saying on here on this live. But if you have the ability to use the word black power, other races should have the ability to use their own Italian power, Jewish power, white power, what have you, even though many people say it does not have the same connotation. But if you get in a big uproar about this guy wanting to start this whites only community, it's already been going on. In many cities, you have Little Italy. In St. Louis, Missouri, you have a place called The Hill, which is basically Little Italy. You have Chinatown in Chicago and New York City. You have heavy populous areas of Jewish communities in New York City. You have Amish communities. So there are these segregated communities that have existed for a very, very long time. And you don't have to put up a sign, whether you're in the south side of Chicago or the south side of St. Louis, to know if you're not Italian, that might not be a place that you want to live and raise your children. So you have a subterfuge of segregationist areas that have existed in America forever. So for this individual to be outspoken about it, and this is the kind of society that this gentleman or community that this gentleman wants, this Eric Orwell. One, I give him credit for even speaking it into existence and let it be publicly known versus it being a secret. I don't think constitutionally that it's going to be able to go into effect because, as I said to you before, there are violations of a restrictive covenant in the United States Constitution and of the Civil Rights Act, let alone the Fair Housing Act of 1968, when you had the Civil Rights Act, the Welfare Act under Lyndon Johnson, and those folks. So what do you all think about this individual in this RTTL, this Return to the Land, where they want an all-white community? They want, so it has anti-Semitic rhetoric in it, anti-Jewish, anti-black, and then anti-LGBTQ. They don't want any alternative lifestyles to be a part of it. So you could be white and European, but if you are seeing or married to the same sex, they don't want that either. So all of these issues of our freedoms and our Bill of Rights and our United States Constitution, there are definitely some violations that are in there as we speak. I don't think that it's going to exist. You also have to remember, I'm here in St. Louis, Missouri, which is a blue city. However, the state of Missouri is a red state. And so when you start going to places like the Lake of the Ozarks, Columbia, Missouri, Springfield, Missouri, that becomes an extremely red state and a very white state. What do you have down in Springfield? Well, you got Table Rock Lake, which is a tourist attraction, and people like to go fishing and boating there. You have Branson, that's not far away. You have a major university there that used to be called Southwest Missouri State, and now I think it's called Missouri State University. So you have some things that are going on down there that, of course, the university is going to be a melting pot of people. And this reverberation of this whites only community, it will definitely affect tourism. I would think that the Missouri state legislators would not be in favor of it because of the terrible marketing of it, what it would represent for not only Springfield, but for the state in and of itself. And you had Missouri Democrats that are pushing back on this effort. You have Chelsea Rodriguez, who's the communications director for the state Democratic Party, who called RTTL a hate group and said it would not be welcomed in Missouri. They said that Missouri Democrats have a clear message for any hate group eyeing our state, saying that this is our home. We were raised here, and we share the same respects for the Constitution and the Second Amendment as our neighbors do. Your hate has no place in our home. So when you start talking about these isolated communities and scenarios, you're talking about segregationism, you're talking about Jim Crow, you're talking about awakening of the ugly beast of racism and superiority. You had State Rep Jeremy Dean, a Democrat who represents part of Springfield in the Missouri House of Representatives, who said he has no doubt that groups such as RTTL are emboldened by federal and state politicians who attack marginalized communities and fuel a climate where hate can grow. He says that Southwest Missouri has a racist past, but we've made progress and we're not going to go back there. They view this as a white nationalist group that has no place in our country, especially not here. Another Missouri Democrat who represents part of Springfield and Jeff City, State Rep Betsy Fogle, said the blatant racism embraced by Mr. Oswald's group is not welcome in the district. So it sounds like there's going to be a lot of pressure and a lot of vocalization in the state legislature on seeing if this is going to be allowed in Missouri. But there was also a point that was brought to the attention as a result of this article by the Arkansas Attorney General, Tim Griffin, who's a Republican, and he said that he does not share this view with this isolated, racially divided community. He said racial discrimination has no place in Arkansas or anywhere else in a free society. He said these allegations raise all sorts of legal issues, including constitutional concerns. Griffin said in a statement, and he said that his office was reviewing the matter. And here again, that is coming from the Arkansas Attorney General, Tim Griffin. So in bringing this whole conversation up, it goes back to what I say in many of my videos. It is very important to read and know that the power of the pen, the power of your vote, the power of the pen of your state and local representatives, and how they vote on laws that affect you and your freedom each and every day is of the utmost importance. You need to know who your attorney general is. You need to know who your state reps are. You need to know who your state senators are. You need to know who your lieutenant governor and how they're voting and where they are coming from. Just don't go by the words that are coming out of folks' mouth. Look at how they are legislating and voting, because something like this, just when you think it cannot appear in your city, it will be right there. The unforeseen will become seen, and the unbelievable will become believable. That is what's taking place in our society today. We definitely don't want to go backwards. We want to move forward. But there is a small segment in the United States of this white male patriarchal system that is very concerned about the future racial dynamic of America. It is becoming much more colorful. You're having white families that are having fewer children. You're having interracial relationships at an all-time high. And there are all kinds of videos on YouTube about white women that love black men that love white women, black women being angry at black men for dating white women. This racial dynamic is really going through the roof. He said, "Hey, are you gay?" I don't know what that means. There's some weird people on these video chats. One's sexuality has nothing to do with anything that we're talking about. But there is this component that in the future that it is going to be way more colorful and brown and less pure European as we progress in the future. So there are people that are concerned about that on the white side of things. To me, people are people. And so you might hear more and more about all white communities. You might hear more and more about white power, about them reinforcing their heritage, which might not have anything to do with any other race. You have black folks that talk about black power all the time, and pride, or black pride. You have the LGBTQ community that talks about pride, and they have a pride parade in many of the cities throughout our country. So there are groups and there are individuals and races of people who are proud about their heritage, but it always makes individuals nervous. And I think based on the history of the United States of America, when folks are talking about white pride, it makes everyone feel a little bit nervous due to the history of that. But my point is, in today's time, in 2025, is it okay for white folks to have white pride, to exude it and express it, and even talk about an all-white community? In many of your urban cities today, you don't hear people vocalizing an all-black community, but that's what you find in many of your major cities. That's your redlining. That's poverty. That is a socio-economic issue, a socio-cultural issue. So those kinds of things, the separation of folks is taking place, whether it's a race separation or an economic separation. But now you're starting to see certain groups of individuals that are vocalizing at a high level that they want a separation from other folks. Is that healthy or unhealthy? I think it's unhealthy. And there are constitutional and civil rights issues that should curtail this. And I think this is not a way that we need to go in the United States of America, to start having signs that say all black community, all white community, all Italian communities. Um, this is supposed to be a country that's filled with a melting pot of people who are allowed to have their varying and different ideas and ideologies, and somehow we should be able to meet in the middle. But please take a look at this article. The group is called Return to the Land, RTTL. Tell me what you think of it. Are you in favor of it? Are you against it? Is President Donald Trump and his rhetoric intensifying the racial issue? The statistics show that in the future, the United States of America is going to be more colorful, and there are going to be eventually more brown people than white people. Is that a real issue? Or should we worry about jobs? This immigration thing is a big deal. Should we worry about our future as far as entrepreneurs, people having trades, the prices of goods that are going through the roof, and this racial ideology should not be something that we should take out of the burial grounds and let it live on the surface of the earth anymore. We've come a long way since Jim Crow, since the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Lyndon Johnson, and we need to proceed in a manner of togetherness and not separation. Tell me what you think. This has been the Trevor Donald Experience.